Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. My name's Jonathan. As always, I got the Masters crew here with me. Dynasty Al, the Doc. What's up, guys?
How we doing?
What's up, Kamish?
Real good. How you guys doing today?
Doing great.
We've got another Dynasty Trade Spotlight Series show for you. A lot of trades pouring in this week. I picked out some really good trades. These guys are going to take a look at them, tell you what they think about them. With that said, let's jump right into this. First trade popping up on the screen. This is in one of our 10 leagues. We got Dak Prescott, DeAndre Hopkins, Robert Tonyan for Aaron Rodgers, Tyreek Hill, and Curtis Samuel. Your guys' thoughts?
This one's tough. So my first gut reaction was the Rodgers, Hill, Samuel side. But then the more I thought about it, so Hopkins and Hill, so I do prefer Tyreek, but it's pretty close to being a wash there. Pretty close.
Yeah.
Then Robert Tonyan and Curtis Samuel's a little difficult because, Tanyan's a tight end and, finished as a tight end 3 last year. I don't expect him to repeat that. And then really Dak Prescott versus Aaron Rodgers, I kind of think swings this the most, just in the sense that Dak's so young. So I don't know. To me, it's almost just like dead even. But I don't know. Maybe the Dak side, get that long-term QB.
It's funny because I initially went with the Dak side. I think the only difference is it depends. If you need a tight end, I think Tunyan's a safe bet to at least give you an upgrade. I agree. I don't think he finishes top 3, but I do think he'll produce pretty consistently. And then Curtis Samuel's kind of a question mark. But besides that, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. I think it's a pretty even trade. I like it.
Yeah, pretty even trade. I do think that Dak's youth there maybe gives him a slight advantage. I haven't said that Aaron Rodgers is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Short term, I'd go the Aaron Rodgers side.
Yeah.
But.
All right, good stuff. Nice trade, guys. This next trade, and I actually want to take the second-round pick out of this one, and we can leave it in there. I do think the second swings this to that team.
Yeah.
But when this trade came up, it just got me to thinking, with the addition of Matt Stafford this year, Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods, who has the better season, and which one would you rather have this season?
So it's funny because to me, the two of them are as dead even as it gets.
Yeah.
And I was in a startup dynasty draft, and I didn't take either of them, but they're both, I was debating between the two of them, and then I swear they went off, almost back-to-back picks. So for me, and just something about Cooper Kupp, it just makes me feel a little bit better, especially with the addition of Matthew Stafford. I don't know, I just feel like those two are going to have a great connection. So I'm going to go with the Kupp side. Especially because they get the second. But even dead, just straight up, I think I'd lean Kupp slightly.
Doc, you agree?
I agree in this trade, but I think straight up I take Woods by a nose. And again, they're very close, statistically and all of that too. That could change with Stafford. Who knows who he picks as his guy, the guy that he kind of leans on in that offense. I just think Woods, from a fantasy perspective, has a little more. He can do a little more than Cooper Kupp. We saw Robert Woods score. The amount of times I was saved by a Robert Woods end-around rushing touchdown last year, it was a lot. Where he would do nothing and have that touchdown save me. So I think just for his versatility, I'll take Woods by a nose.
All right, good stuff. I know this for sure. A lot of excitement if you're a Rams fan this year. I certainly would be excited. All right, going to move on to the next trade. Another interesting trade I've seen this week. Got Ezekiel Elliott and Julio Jones for Joe Mixon, Alshon Jeffrey, 3.2 in the 1.
This one I think is really tough to evaluate in terms of, just looking at this year for people short-term focused. Zeke and Julio is huge, but that 2022 first rounder could end up being huge because Julio could be basically done, by the time that 2022 first rounder is used. His, fantasy career could be pretty much gone. So to have Joe Mixon and then, a first rounder just a year from now, to me that I think has a ton of value because I think Mixon and Zeke are pretty close in terms of dynasty outlook moving forward. So I think I'm going to go the side of the 2022 first and just wait out a year of Julio and cash in on that first rounder.
Yeah, realistically, you're not going to get a ton for Julio at this point. So,
and that's kind of the way I looked at it. Julio, you wouldn't be able, or Julio's not worth a 1. So.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Maybe, but he's.
I could be wrong.
Well,
I say, have you seen any trades?
Last year, I have not seen any this year.
This year.
Yeah.
But to me, if Travis Kelce's worth a 1, I think Julio very well could be too. It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see, but I think he could still have another dominant year or two in him.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. I think like to a contender, he's probably still worth a first.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Alshon's just kind of tossed in, as is that third, really. So, I mean, what it comes down to is Mixon in a first, really, for Julio and Zeke. I mean, I guess long term I'll take the first, but I don't know. I feel like you could get more for those two guys.
Yeah. And I think what's cool about this trade with a lot of these, short term, you go Zeke and Julio, but long term, that one has the value. So it's just kind of funny.
Yeah,
it makes sense for both parties.
And I keep saying, too, I still think, everybody, if you look back at last year's draft, I mean, almost everybody hit. Mm-hmm. But if you go back to plenty of rookie drafts before that, it was so 50-50.
Right.
So, I mean, imagine, and I always use N'Keal Harry. I apologize because there's still time left. He just comes to mind.
Yeah.
But a guy that I drafted at 1.4 in quite a few leagues. Mm-hmm. So if I add Joe Mixon and N'Keal Harry, it's a wash. Give me Zeke and Elliott all day. But I do think, you're shooting for the lottery and you're hoping that you hit every time. So I do think, and I like Zeke over Joe Mixon pretty significantly personally. But I do think getting a one out of Julio's a fair deal at this point. Yeah. You just got to hit on that pick, man. Got to hit on it. All right, good stuff, guys. Going to move on to the next trade here. Another guy that's been getting traded quite a bit this year, Clyde EdwardsHelaire, Keenan Allen for Alvin Kamara, and our guy Jarvis Landry.
Man, this one's tough.
Yeah, that is a tough trade.
So as much as I love Jarvis, I think Keenan definitely gets the edge there.
Yeah.
And then, again, it's just one of those short, looking at next year, I think Alvin Kamara is the better back. But, at some point, Kamara's going to start to decline a little bit. And Clyde's still attached to Mahomes, for the next 4 years. I think I'm going to go the Clyde-Keenan route.
Yeah, and Doc, right before you go, I just had a question for Dynasty Hour real quick. Because I agree, Keenan Allen, a better asset to own than Jarvis Landry. But that's only because of destination, really. I mean, take destination out of it. Do you think Keenan Allen's a better receiver than Landry?
Yes and no. So from an actual football standpoint, not so much. Like, I love Jarvis, But from a fantasy perspective, I do think Keenan has, just had a lot better years. I know he was attached to Phillip Rivers first, where Jarvis has never really had, I think Baker's a great quarterback, but never really had, as a true number one, never been attached to a really good quarterback. So it's tough, but from a fantasy perspective, I think Keenan is just a better fantasy receiver. But actually, crazy stat, I forget it exactly, but remember I was doing that research about receivers. Wish I could remember it for you perfectly. But, long story short, Keenan Allen was the only receiver, I think, to have over 1,000 yards or something, but his longest catch was only 20-some yards.
Oh, yeah.
He was the only receiver to have his longest reception under 30 yards. And I was scrolling down the list, and Jarvis Landry is one of the guys who his longest reception was also under 30 yards, but he didn't have as many yards as Keenan. So just kind of, they both went in short areas, tough guys, great hands, good routes, but they just don't have a lot of long receptions. So very similar guys, I think. Yeah,
I'll just say I think, long term, I'll go with Clyde. But, man, I do really, and we've talked about, too, how I think Jarvis is going to have a huge bounce back this year. And, and Kamara, he very easily could be the number one running back in fantasy for the next 2-3 years. That very well could be the possibility. He's such a great receiver, and they manage his workload so well that I could easily see him continuing to produce at a high level for quite some time. You know what? I take back what I said about Clyde. Give me the Kamara side.
I like it. It's something interesting. I keep thinking as you guys say this, because I do think in recent Dynasty drafts, Kamara off the board in the top 5. And, I think if you were in a league where you were trying to trade, and you were trying to trade up to the top 5 of the first round, based where Clyde EdwardsHelaire and Keenan Allen have went, I don't think that trade would move the needle if you offered those picks to get into the top 5.
Yeah.
Just interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, going to move on to the
So, hold on, real quick. I found my stat. So I said if you look at the top 20 receiving yard leaders for 2020 and look at their longest reception, every one of them had a reception over 40 yards except for one, and that was Keenan Allen. And Keenan Allen's longest reception was actually under 30 yards. So kind of crazy.
That's
Every
weird.
other receiver had a reception over 40 yards. He didn't even have one over 30. Just kind of mind-blowing,
crazy.
but still top 20 in receiving yards.
Yeah, I think
Just wild. Just
I think
so many receptions.
More importantly, I want to know why I didn't get that text.
Yeah. Well, let me add you to that group chat. Real quick. Yeah. Look, you'd get a lot of texts you don't want, but then that
that's
one you
the
did.
yeah.
My feelings are hurt a little bit. All right, going to go on to the next trade here. This is one of our super trader leagues. Always like to mention that. We open a couple of these every year. If you're looking to get into a league with a bunch of active owners, I mean, these are leagues that do it. I'll be honest, guys, every time I log in to do trades, the up and down the email, just super traders all over the place. Really cool leagues. The trade in this one, we got Patrick Mahomes and Robbie Anderson, a third-round pick for Lamar Jackson and the New York Giants' new shiny weapon, Kenny Golladay.
Well, it's funny because like a year ago, it probably obvious Lamar and Kenny Golladay. And now I think I'm going to go with the Mahomes, Robbie Anderson side by just like the smallest of hairs here. And it's mostly just because I want to be consistent with my Lamar Jackson takes here. I can't keep saying that he's going to stink in 3 years and side with him on this one. And really it comes down to Golladay being with the Giants for me because I don't trust Danny Dimes to get him the ball as much as he did in Detroit. So I'm going to go with the best quarterback in the NFL and Robbie Anderson, who could be seeing a nice new quarterback down in Carolina, too.
Yeah.
And a pick.
So I definitely agree. A year ago, and assuming Kenny would have went somewhere better, I think the Lamar-Kenny side would have been pretty enticing. But Robbie Anderson did have a really good year last year, and Mahomes is just, kind of tier of his own there as the number one Dynasty QB. So I'm going to stick with that and just for the next 10-plus years, you've got Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you guys. You guys both know I'm a big Lamar Jackson guy.
Right.
The only thing that scares me with Lamar, it's hard to envision Lamar Jackson playing quarterback at like 35, 36,
Right,
37. That's just hard to picture. I mean, he very well could do it. Just it's a lot easier to see Mahomes, playing that long into his career. With Kenny Golladay, like you said, who knows? All right, the final trade in this one. Thought this was an interesting trade. I know you guys both love Jonathan Taylor quite a bit. So anytime I see a Jonathan Taylor, I like to bring it into you guys. Laviska Shenault, the 1.2 and the 1.12 for your guys' boy, JT.
So this is crazy because, I love Jonathan Taylor, but this is quite a haul. The value is definitely there. So I'm saying the guy trading away Jonathan Taylor is probably going to use the 1.2 on a running back to replace him. And honestly, and then the 1.12, I mean, there's some guys we like. If you check out our Dynasty Spotlight series, there's some guys we like there. But for the most part, that's, probably even less than 50-50 truly hitting in fantasy value, the 1.12.
Yeah. On a stud, for sure. I mean,
so let's call it, Shenault, the 1.2, and then, just a guy. The 1.12 sounds a lot prettier than just a guy, but realistically, the 1.12 turned into just a guy. I think Jonathan Taylor is worth more than one of the, ETN and Najee Harris are, the two running backs you're looking at 1.2, and I think Shenault's not enough. Shenault and another guy is not enough to move the needle for Jonathan Taylor, who could be a surefire RB1 for the next, 5+ years. So I'm gonna stick with Jonathan Taylor, even though that looks like a great haul on paper.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to agree with you because, Laviska Shenault, and he's another one of my guys, too. I really love him. I think them adding Marvin Jones will kind of eat into his production. I mean, long-term, probably not, but at least for the time being, it's going to hurt. Plus, they have Shark, so I don't even think he would ever be the number one receiver there anyways. And, I agree. Despite the draft being deep, I think at 1.12, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. So you're really just like swapping Jonathan Taylor for Najee Harris, a wide receiver 2 on his own team, maybe 3, and then 1.12 where, you're kind of just hoping for the best in a deep draft. So, I'm going to side with JT too. I mean, especially if he continues doing what he did at the end of the year last year. I mean, he's going to be electric for years to come.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Both these guys go with Jonathan Taylor. I'll be the oddball. Give me Laviska Shenault. He's going to be looking a lot better when Trevor Lawrence gets there next year. It could be his number one. I mean, it's up in the air. It's 50-50 on who it's going to be. That's going to be Shenault. I mean, add in the 1.2. I do agree with you guys that it's, iffy at the 1.12. I do think the 1.12 could be very valuable in a trade.
Yes.
To a guy that doesn't have any trade pick.
For
guy
sure.
doesn't have any picks. the 1.12 could probably, on a rebuilding team, get you a Julio,
Agree
maybe a
with
Travis
that.
Kelsey,
Yeah.
a guy like that. Just got to find the right trade partner.
Right.
That's going to wrap up this show. Appreciate you guys so much for watching.
Come be a part of the Masters family. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, I got
Last
nothing
words?
else to say.
That's it. Appreciate you guys so much for
Boom.
watching.